Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Phillies show with Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury. I am Todd Zolecki. It is Monday, April 8th, 2024. Does everybody have their solar eclipse glasses? Jim, I know you're going to be in the backyard today, right? In your garden, peering up towards the sky.
I don't have any glasses, so I'm not going to be looking up there because you can, I mean, that's not a myth. You can hurt your eyes. So unless you have the glasses, be very careful.
Ruben, you got your glasses?
I have sunglasses, but I don't have special sunglasses.
Don't be looking. I
will not be peeking at it. I don't know. We're right on the edge here in St. Louis because I'm getting ready to broadcast these 3 games here in STL. But I think that we're going to have special glasses on the broadcast.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I actually nerded out today. I walked over to St. Louis Library, Public Library, to see if I could get some, and they're all out. So I will now also not be looking.
Where do you get them? Can you get them? Maybe I'll go get some.
Any eyeglass store now, but I think because it's last minute, they're probably all gone. So call your optometrist or whatever you call your eye doctor.
When is the actual timing?
That's a great question. I don't even know, but it's going to be some point today.
When it comes to
they're closing schools and stuff.
My son's getting out of school early.
When it comes to celestial oddities, Halley's Comet's my thing, so I'm just going to wait for that.
Okay,
that's fantastic. I don't know when that's coming around, but I'm gonna keep an eye on that.
What you did there,
celestial oddities. Phillies take 2 out of 3 this weekend in DC. They lose the series finale on Sunday 3-2. They're 4-5. I thought we should start with something that's kind of been a hot topic of conversation, which is the Phillies base running. They have made 12 outs on the bases this season, which leads Major League Baseball. It is 4 more than any other team. They've been caught stealing 6 times. They've made 6 other outs on the bases. Kyle Schwarber got doubled off at first base yesterday. And I thought Rob Thompson said something interesting yesterday. Asked him, what do you do about this? And he said, this is a tricky, complicated conversation to have with players, because if you start hammering them on, you guys need to be smarter. You guys cannot start. You guys can't get thrown out taking extra bases. Then they lose their aggressiveness. So now tonight, what you don't want to happen is you have a guy stop at second when he could have gotten a third. So I guess I want to start with Ruben, because you were the base running coach with the Red Sox and the Mets. So put yourself in Paco Figueroa's shoes right now. You need to clean it up, but you don't want them to lose their aggressiveness. What do you say? What's your message?
Well, the hope is that they went over this stuff. You know, I'm pretty adamant and it's something I'm very passionate about, is base running, because I think it sets the tone for your organization. I think it sets the tone for your team. I believe that it can change the game in a lot of ways, and you can win championships. The Kansas City Royals basically won a championship on their base running in 2015, I think it was. And I think it's just a sort of a mindset. It's one thing to be aggressive. It's another thing to be aggressive and dumb on the base paths. And they just, they have some veteran guys on that team that are not making, very good decisions on the base paths. I always would want my team to err on the side of aggressiveness, because getting that extra 90 feet means a lot, especially with as many strikeouts as there are on every game. If you can figure out a way to get another 90 feet somehow, that can translate into another run or 2. So I think that's important. That said, and I know they have 11 bags, which is good, ranks them pretty high in the National League, but the fact that they have been thrown out 6 times, not good. The fact that they've been picked off, especially on a lefty a couple of times on like first moves. I just feel like, there's a level of concentration that's not quite there. I would assume that they worked on this stuff in spring training, but Rob Thompson did say something about, this sort of being on him. It's because maybe they didn't work on it or they didn't set the tone. I know every year when I was a player in the Phillies organization, and then when I was a coach, we would go what we would call around the horn. And basically, John Vukovic went through base from home plate all the way around to home plate, all the responsibilities you have as a base runner. And that was something that was really near and dear to me. And when I did it with the Boston Red Sox, I did it with the Mets. The Mets, they had never done anything like that. So it was like new news to them. But Brian Butterfield and I worked on with the Red Sox, worked on the base running stuff ad nauseum in spring training. And we were all on the same page, man. We were, old school about it. And I think it's just repetition. I've seen us do some things already this year, fly balls in the outfield with nobody out, not tag up in advance, not make the right decisions, going halfway or tagging up, that kind of stuff. That's stuff that's fundamental stuff that should not ever happen, especially for this team that's been around a little bit. These guys are, they're not rookies. There's only one rookie in the lineup in Rojas. And I want that guy to be as aggressive as hell. So I just think it's a mindset. I think that they're not concentrating well enough. And you're right. There is a fine line because you don't want to say, hey, got to be a little smarter. Well, I think it's more about just paying attention. You got to pay attention and understand the scoreboard and understand the score and do what you're supposed to do and know where the fielders are when you check, get on the base path. It's not about whether I got a hit or not or, what the deal is. It's about concentrating on scoring a run. Right now. You guys hearing those tunes? What are those tunes?
No, we're having technical difficulties. Somehow Ruben had
we had some
jams. Yeah.
That wasn't for me.
So Ruben, I remember those sessions with John Vukovic fondly because we're both very fond of the late great John Vukovic.
Yes, we are.
But I mean, they were like a signature day in Clearwater. Today is Camp Vuk or Vuk 101.
Right.
And he would, start off at home plate, first base, second base. I mean, where to hit the bag and stuff you learn in Little League, but you have to, turns and stuff and where to look, picking up balls, stuff you learn as a kid. But, even at the major league level, it has to be reinforced. I, like you, will always err on the side of aggression because I think it's not a good thing when an athlete, almost at any level, is afraid to make a mistake. All of a sudden, you're tentative. And when you're tentative, you actually make more mistakes. It becomes like the reverse. So, the importance of an extra 90 feet is huge. I think they stress that a lot in spring training. I think coming out of spring training, it's on their minds. And it sounds simplistic, but just, do it the right way. And I think this is a small sample size. I think it's going to level out. Sure. I think they're going to be all right there. But just don't lose your aggressiveness and don't be afraid to make a mistake. It's a really, really fine line. I mean, the guy who's the most daring on the bases is Harper. Occasionally he will do something that you like sitting upstairs and you're like, why did he do that? Clearly he's trying to do too much, being too aggressive, trying to carry a team all on his back. Remember that mistake that Travis Jankowski made a few years ago?
Yes.
On second base. I always, and I still feel bad for him on that because he hadn't played a lot. He was like, a reserve guy. They put him in, I think, the pinch run. He needed to move up 90 feet. It would have really helped and he wanted to be aggressive. He read the ball down. It gets lost in the catcher's equipment. It blends in. There's dust. You're trying to do too much. You're getting in a game for the first time in a while. You want to make a difference. And next thing you know, you're just a little bit over aggressive. But even though that was like his signature moment here, he was trying to have a ball.
He's a good base runner. And
it happens to everybody.
Yeah.
It happens to people.
I just feel like it's a level of concentration. It's another level of concentration that at least in the early part of the season, just like anything else. And I think it's part of like not getting enough reps in spring training. If you're not on base in spring training, and then you're trying to do certain things that you haven't done since last October, it's a little unwieldy. It's like you practice things, and if you don't do them in the game situation, and you don't get to do them a lot during the course of the spring, and a lot of guys, there's some guys who didn't even get on base during the spring.
And Ruben, tell me if I'm wrong. You got practice, you got spring training. When the lights go on and the third deck goes on, the game moves even faster. So you're trying to take that extra 90 feet, and that split second is the difference between you being bang out or safe. The game moves that much faster in the regular season. I don't think it's going to last all year. I think it's kind of an adjustment thing. But does the game move faster in regular season? Absolutely.
It does, and even more so with when you can make calls based on the video. Like those bang plays, you might have been safe, 10 years ago. You're no longer safe.
Right. Well,
there's replay and stuff like that factors in as well.
And I think everything that you guys just said, you want guys to err on the side of aggressiveness is important to say, because yesterday, again, social media, Rob Thompson has to send a message. He has to bench these guys when they make a mistake. That would be such a massive overreaction. Kyle Schwarber, after the game, I went up to him and I said, can you tell me what happened in that play? He just said, totally bad read on my part. Totally bad read on my part. And the second thing is, I wouldn't have been able to get to third base anyway. So I don't know kind of what I was doing there. But he said, I've got to, obviously I've got to clean it up. And Rob also has said, he's like, I can't find these numbers, but he thought they started slowly last season too, in terms of making too many mistakes on the bases. And then they did clean it up as the season went on, and they finished about middle of the pack in baseball and outs on the bases, whatever that is. So they also put a lot of guys on the bases as well. So that might factor into those numbers.
I think that they got better and better. I generally view them as a good, aggressive base running team, but not when you're running into outs. I mean, we talked about Harp. Sometimes he reminds me of Scott Rowland. I'm going to run till I'm out. And you love the aggressiveness, but you also have to have some prudence as well.
Spencer Strider is out probably for the season. Huge blow for the Braves. Shane Bieber is out, but the Strider one obviously has greater implications for the Braves and for the Phillies. And I guess I'm just wondering, what do you guys think about Strider going down and this uptick in UCL injuries over the past few years? So the league and the union going back at each other over the weekend. I don't think it's any secret that the velocity going up and up and up over the years has correlated with the increase in UCL injuries. What do you guys think?
Well, the velocity is a product of guys training to throw harder and pushing their bodies further and further, and their elbow, their arm not being able to hold up to the stress and the exertion level of trying to throw it harder and harder, because there's pressure to throw it harder and harder. It's how you get noticed in the showcase circuit. It's how you get a college coach to come look at you. It's how you get a scout to drive 200 miles and fill out a report on you. And it's the same for hitters. Power dominates the game. It's the reason we see the elevated or the bat path with the launch type of angle. It's the reason we see less line drive approach. Power. It's intoxicating. But the art of pitching has been replaced by the desire to just blow it by people. But I feel bad for Strider. I feel bad for the game. I love the game. I love watching that guy pitch. I love watching him go out there with those Martin St. Louis thighs. You can look it up, Todd.
Is he a hockey player?
I like to call him Eric Heiden thighs.
Eric Heiden is a good get, Ruben. Nice. You were watching the Winter Olympics.
I watch.
Hey, how about Dan Jansen?
Dan Jensen.
Or Rick Helling.
He's a Wisconsin guy, you know.
You guys remember Rick Helling, right-hander,
Yeah.
big, strong right-hander? How about Albie Lopez? How about those calves?
So but Strider drives off that rubber. He's fun to watch.
He is.
I mean, the last 2 years he led the majors in strikeouts, and he spent part of that time as a reliever. Big blow to the Braves. I mean, they were 26-6 in his starts last year. It's a big blow. That said, I'm sorry to see him go down because you want your best players on the field. I'm sure that in that Phillies clubhouse, they're sorry to see him go down because, any competitor worth his salt wants to bang heads with another competitor who's at full strength. But yeah, I mean, you can't be naive. Braves have lost their best pitcher, maybe the best pitcher in baseball. The Phillies, they're aware of that. They're going to face him 5 less times this year, and it could be to their advantage. But that said, the Atlanta Braves are a professional unit. They know how to win. They really know how to win. And I'm not just talking about recent years. I'm talking going way back over the last generation, really. So you're going to have to be at your best to beat them. But it's definitely a blow, and it's sad. It's sad to see Bieber go down. This epidemic of elbow injuries is really sad. And it's a crisis for the game.
I'm going to get on my soapbox, guys. It might be a while.
Let me get my stopwatch.
Yeah.
Here's the issue. I think people who don't really know the game have affected the game in a really negative way in this regard. We have weighted balls, we have drive line, we have stuff that has created. And Jimmy, you hit it nail on the head. I mean, everybody's worried about velocity and spin rate and forgotten how to the art of pitching. And everybody's worried about trying to hit the ball in the air and drive the ball out of the ballpark. And we've lost our way with regard to what the game of baseball is supposed to be and how it really should be played. And we've got people who are now taking over the game, who running the game at the major league level and all the way down, who don't really know the game and feel like the biomechanics of the game should be changed because, that's the way to have success. Well, guess what? There's $1 billion of people on the IL right now because of it. The body cannot biomechanically take the sort of pressure that is created by the velocities and the spin rates and the way you're twisting your joints and your soft tissues in your joints to be able to withstand any of this. And this is the result. And so we allowed people who don't really understand the game take over the game, and this is what you're going to get. And so it's so disappointing because because the athletes in this day and age are better than they ever were. I mean, it's ridiculous. From a decade ago till now, these guys are big and strong and fast and unbelievable. But they're not taught to play the game the right way because what's become more important is, biomechanics and that kind of stuff and not the game of baseball. Still a game of baseball that is unique to any other sport. And so maybe the cricket's as close as you can get. And that's pretty damn popular too. But that's a real problem because you want to have the best athletes on the field. That fans deserve that. You deserve it. And I think this has really created a situation where now when you go to a baseball game, you're not going to see Garrett Cole. You're not going to see Spencer Strider. You're not going to see Yuri Perez. You're not going to see Bieber. And it's disappointing. Now, for the Phillies, for their part, when you start looking at what, guys like Aaron Nola, who's as durable as hell, and Zach Wheeler, who has now learned over the last several years how to pitch without his great velocity, to move the ball, to cut the ball, to keep the ball off the barrel, to pitch. I love it. And the same thing with a guy like even Christopher Sanchez. Same thing. I mean, he didn't have a great outing his last outing, kept the team in the game, but he was one of the most consistent guys because he's learned how to pitch and throw strikes.
Wheeler still brings it. He's just kind of easy velocity, beautiful mechanics, easy velocity, and everything he's got a big, tall frame. big, strong man. It fits his frame. He's not a grunter and a groaner.
No, there's so much maximum effort now in a lot
Yeah.
of the pitchers that maximum effort is causing real problems.
I don't know if it ever goes back, because I asked Rob Thompson that. I said, it's never going to change though, right? Because I don't know how you go from wanting a bullpen that averages 96 miles an hour on your fastball, which is what you should want, I guess, because you're going to get a ton of guys out. Is it ever going to cycle back to that pitchability? And he says he thinks everything goes in cycles. I guess I just have trouble seeing a time where 20 years from now we're going, remember back in 2024 when everybody was throwing 96 miles an hour and baseball just decided, hey, we don't want that. I mean, maybe it does cycle back, but you know, right now for sure, it's all velo all the time.
I've heard some interesting things over the last couple of weeks that the pitchers now are realizing that they're getting hurt. And I think it's going to make the players have to decide, you know what's best for me? What's best for my career? And the people who are evaluating are also going to have to understand the game a little bit better and say, okay, what's best for our organization? Should we have the pitcher throw as hard as he possibly can and blow out? Or should we have him hang around for a while and build him up properly the way you do with long toss and leg work and all that other kind of stuff? And I think the players are starting to realize that the Tampa Bay Rays, while they've done a great job of maximizing players, they're taking a player who has a certain pitch, split, cutter, slider, whatever, and they're throwing it 70% of the time, and they're breaking. They're going on the IL, and they're bringing up the next guy to do it.
The next guy to throw 100,
and the next guy is going to throw 100 and to cut that fastball or to spin it or to do whatever at 3,000 RPMs. And I think the players are going to have to realize for themselves, hey, this is breaking me. This could ruin my career. And I think they're going to have to take a stand in some way, shape, or form. I think it's one of the reasons why you saw them sort of, stick their chests out and talk about the pitch clock. That for me it's not the reason. It's not the pitch clock. I don't care what you say. It's the combination of having to get on the mound more quickly and then still trying to throw a maximum effort pitch. That's the problem. And so, we're going to have to do a lot better job of developing guys who have stamina and pitchability. And if we don't do that, then this is going to be the result, and it's going to continue to get exponentially worse. Yeah,
it's sad. It's sad. It's a topic and I forgot about Garrett Cole, as you mentioned, Bieber. And it's a topic that it's not going away, and it's just bad for baseball, and it's sad for baseball. I just wanted to shift back to something in front of we're experiencing right now. What are you guys thinking of Johan Rojas? What are you seeing? You're seeing progress, and how long of a leash, does he have, or will the team give him before I'm sure they're talking about which way to go, but how long does this thing last without getting better?
Well, when the season started, I thought you got to give him at least a month. I thought you have to give him at least a month worth of at-bats just so he doesn't, he can get settled in. The at-bats have not been great. They will point out that he is chasing less compared to last season, and he is chasing less. Again, super small sample size. His chase rate is down. Is that good? Yes, in theory, but he's also swinging at fewer pitches in the zone. So I feel like there's been some times where he will chase, and then in the next at bat, I specifically remember this is a spring training game, but there was a game in Tampa against the Yankees where he swung at 3 pitches all out of the zone. The next at bat, very next at bat, all 3 pitches were in the zone. Take, strike out, see you later, back to the dugout. So I wonder if I'm sure he's just pressing and thinking too much. And I don't know how long they go with him, but a lot of those, he's swinging at the first pitch less. Like I said, swings swinging at pitches in the zone is down as well. So he's just, I feel like maybe he's too tentative out there, and I don't know what you do to kind of get him going. But I think he needs more time, in my opinion. But you guys might disagree on that. Might think that, you know, this is going a bad way fast, and you don't want to kill the guy's confidence.
Yeah, Todd, what you said, I think, is spot on. I know that we all know how difficult it is to hit already. But when you start thinking while you're hitting, instead of just reacting as Jim has talked about, and being able to instinctively make the right decisions to swing, you're in trouble. And I see a tentativeness now because he is trying to, you know, stay in the zone with his swing, where he's taking pitches he should be whacking. And I also see a less aggressive overall swing out of him. I mean, he swings hard, always sort of has. And I don't see him having that swagger or confidence to do that. Now, in the clubhouse, he's been great kid. He doesn't seem to be wavering. But when you get between the lines, and I've lived it. I've lived it when I've stood in the box, and that was the one thing I did well as a minor leaguer was hit. Could hit a lot. Check the numbers. When I got to the big leagues, man, I didn't have a whole lot of confidence, and my decisions and my, you know, and the pitches I was swinging at, not strikes. I mean, when you're struggling and thinking about things mentally, it makes it so much more difficult to hit when you're in the major leagues and you are, you know, in the spotlight. I just don't want the kid to get buried. And it may, and I went through this myself, and it may just take him to go down for like 3 weeks to get his mojo back, get his act together again, and remember who he is, to come back and help out this ball club. I don't know what the timeline is, but if I see another week or 10 days of this sort of same approach, I might think about sending him out.
What about you, Jim?
Well, I mean, you both used this word, and it scares me, tentative. An athlete can't be tentative. I mean, you know, if you're tentative on the foul line, you're not going to finish, and it's not going to go in the hole, you know? I mean, if you're tentative in football, you're going to get your head knocked off. If you're tentative in baseball, you're just thinking too much. You're not going to be on time. You're not going to be on time for any pitches. If you're both seeing that really worries me. You know, I think though we focused a lot on they're off to a slow start, they're still 4-5 as we sit here, going into the fourth series of the year. It would be a lot worse if they were like, you know, 1-8 or 2-6 or something. So, you know, team is treading water, I guess you'd say, around 500. It doesn't feel as glaring as it could be. It would certainly help if they were producing 1 through 8 in the lineup, and they're not. But, you know, their organization has a responsibility for this kid physically and mentally, and we all know the mind leads the body in a lot of cases in athletics. And if it's best to get him you know, to exhale and go to AAA, but is it going to be that much better in AAA? I mean, there are a lot of veteran guys down there that know how to spin the ball. You know, not as sharp as up here, or they'd be here, but it's a really difficult decision. But I think the leash has to be maybe a little bit longer. You asked them to make adjustments. It's hard to make adjustments in real time at game speed in the big leagues. It's a really tough dilemma, one that I'm sure that they're talking about, right, Ruben? They're talking about this every day based on the 4 at-bats they see that night. These 4
they're certainly talking about it internally. I will tell you one thing about is it different in AAA? Yes. I will tell you what's different about AAA. You're not in the middle of the spotlight, man. AAA is like being in a different world. I will tell you that when I went down, it was almost like when they sent me back down, I was hitting $190 or whatever it was I was hitting. It literally released the albatross off of me, and I said, I'm going to go back to just playing baseball and being myself. And then, fortunately for me, and I got advice from John Kruk about this. It was great when I was in the big leagues. You just got to be yourself, right? When I came back, I was way more myself. At the end of that season, that was 92, I think it was. I just felt like so differently about my approach and my confidence. And I just said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to be myself and play my game, and that'll be fine. And it got better. I mean, I don't know what all the numbers look like, but I guarantee you by the time I came back, I didn't finish with a great, I hit like 220 that year, but I went from 190 to 200, 220 or whatever the number was. And it's just a different mindset and a different feel. And sometimes that's what you need.
Ruben, when you mentioned 190, how aware were you of your batting average every time you stepped into the batter's box? Because I know players love to say, I don't really look at the scoreboard. I don't pay attention, but I know that is a lie.
That is a flat out lie.
So
Every
Johan,
single person on the planet. I mean, this is a game of numbers. You can be sure that every single person in your head, you don't want to say you're calculating your numbers as you're running down the line. I mean, that's life, man.
That's what I'm sure
you are judged on your numbers.
And that's what Johan Rojas, he's looking up there tonight. He's going to see 050.
Yeah, unless you're in the big leagues for 10 years, and even those guys. I mean, think about Trey Turner last year. Trey Turner, you don't think he was looking up there going, you don't think Kyle Schwarber's going, I was in under 200. I know I'm hitting home runs and I'm doing other damage, but these are human beings, man. These baseball players, everybody knows their numbers. Everybody knows their numbers almost to the T.
Sure. Doesn't
matter now they know their numbers broken down 700,000 ways.
WRC plus, my man.
Oh, please don't.
Ex-WOBA. That'll be the next episode. We'll get into some ex-WOBA.
No, we won't.
Let's wrap.
No, we will not.
Let's wrap this up. Cardinals, Phillies beginning tonight. Spencer Turnbull versus Miles Michaelis. Zach Wheeler. Sonny Gray is going to make his debut on Tuesday. That's why Rob Thompson started Whit Merrifield and Pache.
And
why am I blanking on the other guy?
Edmundo
Sosa. Edmundo Sosa had a big game. They started him on Sunday because they're not going to face a lefty for a while, so they wanted to get them in there. And then Nola versus Lance Lynn on Wednesday. So Phillies can get back up to 500 if they win this series.
That's what it's all about. Just win series, man. Just win series.
If they win 2 out of 3 every series the rest of the way, they're going to have one of the best seasons in baseball history.
The World Series.
Exactly right.
I mean, I know it's a slow start. I'm a little, their offense has been weak. It's been not good. They're supposed to be a better offensive team. They got to get Castellanos going. They got to get Turner going. Those guys, I mean, I know we're talking about Rojas, but those 2 guys, man, you got to go get rolling.
Yeah, you can get them rolling. Now the focus a little bit is off Rojas. And I mean, that was sort of the template from the beginning. They thought they were strong enough 1 through 8 where they could carry him. If you're not going to be strong 1 through 8, his shortcomings are going to be magnified.
They will get rolling at some point. It's just a matter of when.
You think Turner's? I
see some good signs.
I was going to say I was surprised at Turner's strikeouts the last 2 years, much higher than we anticipated.
He's a swinger. He's an aggressive swinger. So he's also been a sort of a victim of some umpiring that's been a little.
They really. I mean, when he won his batting title, he was striking out like 15% of the time, and now I know small sample size is like 30 this year,
right?
A very small sample size, but I mean, he so much more dangerous putting it in play.
Yeah, and interestingly, I mean, he should be getting pitches to hit. He's hitting in front of Harper. you know, should be getting pitches to hit and doing some damage. And it's really more about the pitches that he's not hitting, you know, missing the ones that are in the zone than it is swinging at the ones out of the zone. I've seen a lot of takes for strike threes from both Turner and Castellanos because, you know, maybe they're up there just maybe thinking a little bit too much right now.
Well, guys, Jim, go get your eclipse glasses. If not, do not look at the sun. Do not look at the sun. Yeah, hopefully we will see you and you'll see us when we do our next show later this week. Thanks, guys, and thanks for listening and watching the Phillies show.
The Todd Pod.